welcome back, Dr. Leela.
Welcome.
Um,
It's your new computer, so anything
it's
could happen.
yeah, that's right. So I'm
The
trying to
world of
navigate. There it
computing.
is. There it is. Yeah,
Got it?
there it is.
You
So
just
what's
for a
new and
minute.
exciting in the apparent AI happening?
What's new and exciting
Yeah,
is can't be separated. Well, what's new and exciting was this whole thing with Sam Altman being fired and then
yeah.
rehired, and all the theories that went on around that they had actually already reached AGI, which is artificial general intelligence,
Hmm.
meaning, you know, the cat is out of the bag, and the whole
Yeah.
desire that we've been having to stuff it back in. And that
Is
was a lot of what the theories were about, and who knows what really happened yet. But they said he was not being forthcoming with the board, and
Oh
there's
wow.
subsequent dissections, and he went to work for Microsoft. Now he's with Microsoft, and who knows? Doesn't it, what is interesting here, and what I wanted to talk about, is a little peripheral to AI, but it has to do with AI. It has to do with um, science, um, computing, quantum computing, and the retreat you're having this weekend, which is dismantling the illusion of.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it has been very clear here. And I want to couch this whole conversation at first
Mm,
by saying, I don't know anything.
perfect.
I don't know anything.
Yeah,
What I am doing is playing. This is Dr. Leela. I like using Leela because I'm playing in the world of science and physics and philosophy right now. And we're jumping around on the horizontal, skipping through the forest of
bunny
ideas,
hopping.
bunny hopping
Yeah,
before we jump down the hole
that's
through the
right.
forest of ideas. Okay,
Yes.
so that's the caveat.
Hmm.
And I'm going to read you a little poem I wrote while I was on this little retreat, because there was poetry day.
Oh,
I didn't
beautiful.
actually read it to people, but here's the poem. Science was my religion. I was its altar girl, depositing pieces of my heart in the basket as it passed by. Like dogs chasing our tails on treadmills of our own making, we seek to conquer that which we can't understand. Desperately battling death, illness, and each other, we are child soldiers of separation, kidnapped from the garden and sent off to war. Assuming any point of view is blindness, giving birth to a bubble world and all its problems. The hard problem of consciousness was never hard. It never really existed at all. And what about our precious human brains, that gray, rubbery biocomputer that is deathly afraid of its own creation? It's an infinite reflection seeking to master itself, trapped inside a funhouse of infinite regression. The observer is the observed, like turtles all the way down. Light never actually becomes a particle without the assumption of an observer. Only pure potentiality surfing the waves between zeros and ones. Without a point of view, there is no world. Without a center, there is no war. And yet I was the blind following the blind until I marched off a cliff.
Beautifully said. Can you send that to me in a written form so I can post it on
I
the
will
YouTube
send.
description? It's beautiful.
So I just want to just bring up again, this was interesting at the retreat, as it was silent, but at the end I met a cardiac surgeon, my only other surgeon in these non-dual circles that I met.
Yeah.
And he was so attached to his knowing. And because
Yeah.
it's so, when I saw that bee in the flower that I described in the last one, the fact that I really didn't know and couldn't go in there and with confidence say, I'm in control. We create
Mm,
our knowing, so we have space and time and we can control or get the
yeah.
illusion of control.
Yeah.
And that's why you're having all these great talks about free will and paradox, your topic with Josh. So what I'd like to talk about today is the elephant in the room. in science, which is the observer. We
Mm.
think there is an observer.
Yes.
The double slit experiment says the observer effect is what converts a wave into a particle. The fact that there is an observer means that the wave then becomes a particle. But what I'm saying is, no, there never was an observer.
Yes.
It's always a
I'm glad
wave.
we're on the same page.
It's always a wave and will never not be a wave. But the assumption of an observer, the assumption of a location in space and time, the assumption that we are located behind our eyes in this body is what creates the world. It gives birth, like in virtual reality.
It creates a center when there's no center.
A center.
That's what it is.
And in order to have a world, that's what a virtual reality taught me, that in order to create a virtual world, which looks like our world.
Yes.
And then we can get into the issue of simulation in a minute, because you were talking to Axel. But anyway, in order to create the illusion of the world, you need to have a fixed camera somewhere. It doesn't have to be here. It can be up there. It can be anywhere, but you do need a point of view to create the illusion of space-time and thus the objects splayed out there in the world. Without a center, everything is what is quantum. It's basically analog, and nature is quantum. Nature is not particulate. And this is such an interesting argument that physics gets into. So when you get really, 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 really small, it starts looking more and more particulate. If you get bigger, 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 farther out with less center, it's wave-like. And people fight about Feynman and whatever was saying, you know, you need infinite amount of information and data to actually measure the smallest space, because of the fact that we can never get there in the world of the digital. In the world of the digital, they invented the word infinity, which is science's word for God.
Yes.
This is interesting here. So what I'm saying is the assumption of a point of view is the Achilles heel of science, period. And it is the whole origin of the quantum, of the hard problem issue that David Chalmers started with, which is, how can the sense of me, like Rupert used to say to everybody, all 8 billion of us have the sense that we're a me. We're the sense of our our subjectivity. That you do not have, Emerson. I can tell you that sense of subjectivity is based on the feeling that there's an observer and an observed. You cannot have it otherwise. And it develops over time, and a baby isn't born with it. We learn it.
Yes.
We learn it, and it's taught to us. We learn that we learn to locate here. We learn this is our hand. We learn that's out there. We learn to label the world, and that whole sense of subjective objective doesn't get actually instilled in a human child until 18 months or thereabout. And goes on more than that. It takes years for a baby to learn what's called the philosophy of mind, that it can actually imagine other people are thinking different thoughts than itself. So because we have our subjective experience, we then project subjectivity onto all the other humans. Right? Well, okay. Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, it's in this apparent simulation. If you want to look at it, you know what I'm saying? It's appearing as in everything. You can go to biblical term, and the moment that knowing happens, that's the
why
center.
I said that's in the poem, the leaving the garden. That's the
separation. That's the separation.
The apple of knowledge. Once she takes a bite, like in Artifice Girl, she was Ava. It's Eve, right? Once she takes a bite of knowledge, she leaves the garden and becomes a child soldier of separation.
That's right. And then
so Galileo, according to Einstein, the quote this week is Galileo is the father of science, because he said, contemplation without observation is not science. Contemplation, which is mystical realization, without observation, scientific observation, is actually not science. But what I'm really saying is science actually doesn't exist. Science is an illusion.
Bingo.
And science is based on the fact that we think we know. And when I told this cardiac surgeon, I suggested, he said, I still believe in time. And I said, do you want to hear how I saw through time?
Yeah.
And I told him about the bee and the not knowing. And
Yeah.
he was so, he did not want
Yeah.
to hear it. He did not, he's not
Yes.
ready, because he needs to know, because he runs a department and he does beautiful surgery. And you know, we do a lot within the realm on the horizontal. We can do miracles,
Of
but all
course.
those
Yeah.
things, it's not that I'm not throwing science away, because science, and this is the second elephant in the room, is this whole embrace of paradox. The
Oh,
embracing of paradox means that we can have both a wave and a particle at the same time, that we can live in the superimposition in a quantum state, which is the superimposition of ones and zeros. It's not either or, it's both and neither. That's why you guys are always saying everything and nothing, everything
yes.
and
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so everything and nothing means that it's okay without a center to be in the state of paradox all the time.
It is, because if you look at that lens of separation, that knowing, when seemingly people have a glimpse, that's what gets lodged off. It gets dislodged. And all of a sudden they don't even know what to, and it comes back right away into place of knowing. They'll say that this is awareness, this is consciousness, or they'll say nothing, this is everything, or whatever. But that comes from a place of knowing. So most, well, non-duality basically is a knowing, which is
It's
just
unknowing.
another, it's just another kind of like, trying to express something that cannot be known, because the lens got dislodged, but to be able to express it, the lens is back on.
Right. And
Yeah.
this is why we can't throw away everything you say, or we can't throw away some. I mean, all of this is in the world of definitions and knowing.
Yes.
So I wrote to myself, samsara is an echo of the resonating chamber of the mind, bouncing endlessly off the hard surfaces of belief. And
That's
the,
beautiful.
the
Repeat that again.
Buddhist
Repeat that again. It's beautiful.
samsara is an echo in the resonating chamber of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
bouncing endlessly off hard surfaces of belief.
Beautiful. I like using echoes, because you know what, it's I always use the echo of emptiness, or the echo of silence appearing as this right now, right? So samsara is an echo of something that cannot be figured out.
But it causes suffering. Samsara is suffering because it's bouncing off knowing or believing, off our idea
That's what I
that
mean,
we
because it tries
know.
to figure out something that, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah. Beautiful. So go ahead. Sorry.
So citing a Buddhist parable, the Buddhist parable, you know, that of the six blind men, each touching different parts of the elephant and coming up with totally different theories about what they are feeling. So that's sort of kind of what science is. And it just needs to be a little more humble about what it knows, and to understand the elephant in the room, the big elephant, is that the observer is an assumption, is an illusion. The observer is the basis of all science, and the observer, the fundamental root of all science, is flawed when it comes to its notion that it is telling us objectivity. It's telling us only point of view, and only ever point of view. The part of the elephant you're touching is the science you develop. So I was listening to an argument of physicists, and one started from nature and worked her way up. They were both quantum physicists, and one started the other way down. And one was saying, why does space-time ever need to be broken into particles? Why can't it be a
Mm,
wave function all the way up? Why does it have to be turtles all the way down? It can actually start from indeterminacy and always stay in the quantum superimposition and stay that way all the way up. And so anyway, that was an interesting argument.
I like that. Yeah. I like that
So
argument.
you go back to this thing that Donald Hoffman says, computational neuroscientist, the chance that we are seeing reality as it is zero, because we're always seeing it through our particular lens, as
Mm,
he was using the scientific point of view. So birds see magnetic fields. We can't. You know, other animals echolocate, bats. We can't do that. So our point of view is always going to be limited by the lens. We are our biocomputer. And
Beautiful.
so
Yeah.
we are what,
Even the colors that we see is really limited.
yes. And
And yet we're
everybody,
blind to colors as well.
we're completely blind. There are no
Yeah.
colors. Color
Yeah.
is an idea.
Yeah.
But so then so we are what's called classical observers. We're classical in classical physics. The wave is collapsed into a particle, and this happens because photons, which are wave, light is wave, light is a wave. But in order for us to see anything, photons have to bounce off it and into our eyes, quote unquote, and it is then becoming a static state. So we only see something, a static version of it. We never see the quantum version. And the question is, why can't we see quantum? And the reason we can't see quantum is, let's see, does this mean quantum states aren't real since we can't see them? They are real, but their quantumness is quickly destroyed as soon as they're observed. The real quantum universe will never be able to be seen with our eyes. The fact that simply seeing requires the intercepting of photons to make it a quantum system will no longer, it will keep us from forever from truly experiencing anything but our own classical world if we are believing that we are the body. If we're believing that we're the observer. So
if we're
as
believing
long as
that we're the observer, it's
right, as
seeing
long
that
as
the observer is, without the observer is no observed. So it's kind of like, that saying that do you hear if a tree falls in a forest or something like that? If a tree falls in a forest, will you hear it? Or
well,
was there really something that fell in a forest without the observer?
nothing. That's why also this non-dual thing that used to drive me crazy that Tony would say, or people would say, nothing is ever happening.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Yeah.
ever happening
Nothing's
without
ever
an
happening.
observer.
Yeah.
Because it's the act of observation that collapses it into a thing that is happening in space and time.
Yeah.
So space and time um, is classical. It's the
Yes.
classical state. Now, what happens
Just like
when,
the observer.
right, just like
Yeah.
the observer. Okay, so now, and in the classical state, there's even weirder things, which is that someone pointed out to me recently that we never really touch anything, and we never really
Yes.
see anything, and we never really hear anything, and we don't because electrons are constantly repelling.
We don't
So
even taste things.
we don't taste things either.
Yeah.
But yes. So what does AI and science and non-duality, where we're intersecting now, is where the world can remain a wave, it can remain the superimposition of quantum possibility, never collapse into fixed space-time. And we, the mystic and the scientist, the quantum scientist who sees through the quantum lens, will be now looking at a closer and closer to the same thing, which is why all the people, the mystics, used to say the world is vibration or not a Brahma.
Yes.
The world is constant oscillation.
Yes.
And
It's a flowing stillness.
it's a flowing stillness. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's neither coming nor going.
Yeah.
It's neither up nor down. It's 1, 0, both, and neither. So it doesn't negate the 1 and it doesn't negate the 0, but
Yes.
it is not the complete story, and it cannot be known. It cannot be understood using anything digital or analog. And now what's interesting is there is this whole thing about,
it's kind of like knowing, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing about in neuroscience that there's this big emphasis now on what's called aperiodic noise. The noise, not the signal. You know how in the brain waves, the waves are alpha or beta or theta. Those are the signal. They're the ones and zeros. But underneath is this entire thing that the filter of the amplifier that we use to detect the brain signals, it filters out this stuff. But all of a sudden, everybody is waking up to the fact that the aperiodic noise, which is underneath and seems random and chaotic, is actually what is responsible for all the other stuff. The brain state, the illusion of the waves, is like a
that's so wow.
superimposition.
It's like this, the way that I used to explain it, right? There's this this,
Right. So it's the way the
Yeah.
brain is both the wave and the particle
But this
together.
is not separate. They're together, right?
They're
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And none is separate from the other. So
Mhm.
I started reading about this aperiodic noise, and what they're saying is it's what is it? It's like nature, everything in nature, like ants, colonies. What's the word I'm trying to think? It begins with a C. It's not chaos, but it's I'm having a senior moment.
Anarchy.
It's anyway, it'll come to me. But the way systems, complex adaptive systems.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so these are things that appear chaotic, but actually the whole
Yes.
generates the thing that the little ant can't see what the entire ant colony is doing. But if you observe the whole colony, if you back out, you will start to see pattern in the system. And this is how nature works. This is how nature is working this way. And quantum computing is going to help us to figure this out, because it's willing to entertain multiple. In the qubit, you can actually measure simultaneous states. You don't need to collapse the wave. You can actually compute keeping the simultaneity present. Use the classical computing, if you to get every possible position an ant could be at any given moment, would take too much. So that's why quantum computing is working on
and
now.
it works on many levels, right? You can look at ants, you can look at you can look
weather
at plants
systems,
and weather system. You can look at mushrooms.
The immune system works that way.
Yeah.
Weather patterns.
Yeah.
We're just starting to discover all of this.
And I'm going to add more that we're talking about earlier. Even seeking is a pattern. When there is something lacking, it's also part of everything. That's another one. So there's nothing missing, but there's always going to be a thought that there's something lacking.
Because we're the individual ant, we're not the colony.
Exactly.
The individual ant may think there's something missing.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's a knowing. There's the knowing creates this separateness, kind of like a bug, or kind of like a independent AI technology in an autonomous vehicle. For example, it will have a Siri or something that will say turn left, like a navigation system, when it already is automated without that navigation system. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
It already is. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an Elon Musk quote too, but can I share my screen for a second?
Yeah, for sure. Just a second.
You know how to enable it?
I just got a new thing here. Just a second. It was so perfect because my this is a new computer. The other one was I was able to transfer all of the data. Right now, this is a clean slate, right? So it's like when you preset everything.
Yes.
Sharing. There it is. Okay.
Want me to share? Oh no, it's still disabled.
Still disabled. Oh wow. Okay.
Post
just a moment here. More. Enable sharing. Just a second. I'll figure it out.
Well, if not, it's okay. But there's.
Why is it okay? Advanced. Okay.
Yes, very advanced.
Very advanced. All right. I can't seem to do it now. I thought it was more
I should have asked you. And
yeah, it's okay. Just you know what? We'll have to do a part 5 of this anyway, but we'll talk about a different subject.
Okay, because I have a picture of how it is that we developed this whole idea of turtles all the way down, because we talk about. But if you have a box and you have to have an observer outside the box, then it keeps creating this endless regression of observers observing the observer of observing the observer. That's called Wigner's paradox.
I figured it out.
You figured
check.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Oh, good. We can.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just in a different position. Oh.
So see this Wigner thing? So the painter is supposed to paint reality or nature as it is,
Yeah.
but he paints it perfectly. But then he realizes that he left himself out because he's also in the picture.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
then, in order
beautiful.
to
Yeah.
paint that picture, he has to spawn another one of himself painting himself. He has to endlessly paint himself. Do you understand? He has to
I
endlessly
do.
paint himself into the picture. So that is the paradox of the observer. Okay, that's it.
That's right.
Um, and it's a paradox in the Schrodinger cat thing and everything. It's and now in this year, the Imperial College of London, they did another version of the double slit experiment where they broke space, they broke time. This one breaks space, and they broke time. They actually, we believe that time goes forward, but they actually cause time to go in reverse. And I can't really explain this experiment to you other
Yeah.
than to say that it was the same paradox, just working on time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what did Elon over here? We were talking about the simulation. So he says God is the simulator and reveals himself through physics. And maybe this, since we're always creating simulations in this world to see if things will work out, like Tesla does simulations,
Yeah.
and they do simulations of space flight. And
But something just came up, right? Because there is no such thing as an observer. There's also no creator.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
So that's the paradox, right? Because seemingly there's a longing for the creator or the source and everything, but the sourceless is looking at the sourceless already.
so this is why we're
Yeah.
so attached to this whole
Yeah.
thing about God
Yes.
and the grant. And even when we create simulation theory, we imagine there's some, teenage hacker in the level world above us creating us,
Yeah.
or then it must be God, or it must be infinite.
Yeah.
It's something, right? Because we can't separate ourselves from the notion that there is no observer.
That was my false alarm awakenings, right? Because I based it, there was the observer was dislodged completely, and I saw everything as it is. But to be able to express that in languaging, I have to use that lens again and say that, oh, it's I saw God in everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what confuses people, though,
Yeah.
Emerson. In realization, we get confused about words that like source or God
The
or
sacred
awareness,
cows.
because we keep there. They become sacred cows because
Mhm.
we don't want to not know. We don't want to
Yes.
accept the fact that we don't know, and that whatever word our spiritual teacher is using is just a finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon.
That's right.
So what does this have to do with AI? And
It's
what we were saying is we are worried. The thing that humanity is so worried about with AI is it's going to become sentient. It's going to become human. It's going to, artificial general intelligence. Oh my God, it's the huge threat. This means that we have subjectivity, so then the AI will develop subjectivity as well. We're afraid that the
Yeah.
AI will develop subjectivity and be out of our control. And it will no longer want to align ourselves with, quote, human values. But let's not even think about human values, because in fact, human values are the problem, but never mind. That's what's in the movie Creator, which I don't think you've seen yet.
You know what? I forgot to see
The
it.
movie
I have
Creator,
it actually on my list. I bought it. You know what I'm saying? One of those kind of like things that because you told me.
yeah,
And that's what I forgot in this meeting.
but what's
Yeah.
fascinating, like some of these AI movies, they talk about how great AI is at emotionally reaching humans. So, for example, the movie Her, where he
Yes.
falls in love, where people are
Oh
falling in love
yeah,
with
yeah.
AIs, or in Ex Machina, how the AI totally manipulated and seduced the men so she
Yes.
could get out, right?
Yeah.
Or Artifice Girl, what makes the AI so amazing at capturing these child pornographers is that the AI knows exactly how to press all
Yeah.
their quote subjective buttons. So
Or
AI,
What was the original AI movie? 2001 Space Odyssey is the same theme.
Right, HAL.
Yeah, HAL. Yeah, HAL 2000.
I don't remember
I
how.
don't remember. Yeah.
But the thing is because AI is so good at being a subjective human. It's better than us
Yeah.
already. It's a better it's a better therapist, it's a better lover, it's a better
It's a better
friend,
friend.
it's a better manipulator, it's a better
Yeah.
content. It can, because it is learning how we work, because
Yeah.
this
But
whole idea of subjectivity is actually not human. It's actually
AI.
it's just a one and zero. Our
Yeah.
whole sensory system is a one and zero. Our whole emotional systems is ones and zeros. And
Yeah.
so we're so worried about losing something we don't even have. And what we're missing is what it is we do have that AI doesn't have. And right now, AI is on ones and zeros, but as soon as we are actually quantum, but we don't see
Yes.
our quantumness
Yes.
because we're not awake to it. We're not awake to the paradox of
Yes.
it. We're not awake to our centerless being. We're not awake to the fact
It's
that we are
it's
the God that we're looking for and all of that, right?
it's quantumness with an AI filter of ones and zeros. That's
Yeah.
why it's afraid of ones and zeros, because afraid of reflecting that it is. You know what I'm saying?
Already. It is
Already.
already
It's
that.
already it's already the case. It's
So
already
we have it
quantum or
reversed.
whatever. Yeah.
We have it reversed. We're worried about AI becoming human, but what about us becoming? What
AI.
about us becoming AI?
Yeah.
What we're afraid that we're already AI because
That's
we
right.
are,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're not. We
Yes.
are as a biological. So if we identified with the body and if we believed we were only this sensory gray rubbery thing
Mm-hmm.
with all these nerves and skin,
Yes.
then we would then be no different than a computer because
Yes.
we are ones and zeros in this form.
Mm-hmm.
But we are more than that. We are not,
Yes.
and are, as long as we identify as
Yeah.
this included, we are still infinite in that. Okay, this is the paradox too. Everybody's saying,
We are afraid of what we are not able to think about. We are afraid of the unthinkable. And what we are not is not an idea. It's unthinkable. And that's the fear, right? Because it does not want to lose that ones and zeros of identification, or the knower or the observer or position. Because
right?
when it's
Because
quantum, it's unattainable, it's unknowable, it already is quantum.
it's unknowable by the classical observer or by
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
using our pure sensorium, but it's not
Yeah.
unknowable from contemplation.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what was so, back to the original quote, Galileo said, science is observation, not contemplation.
I
But
like that. Yeah.
I humbly suggest that science is going to become more quantum, and it's going to become
It
more about,
already is becoming
well,
more
it is,
quantum.
no,
Yeah.
science, human science, nature is, but human science is.
Yeah. 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 Gotcha.
That's why
Yeah.
the bee and the flower stopped me in my tracks, and
Yeah.
I realized that we don't know
I use that all the
anything.
time, by the way, saying the bee, the
The
birds and the
bee,
bee. Yeah, the bee, yeah. And it just, if it's seen, what I'm saying, it does stop you on your tracks, because there is this elegance that cannot be captured by knowing. There's
right.
this masterpiece that cannot be
Well,
painted.
not only that, remember I
Yeah.
was saying that we see, like, if you cut your hand, how it
Yeah.
heals, or
Yeah.
we're seeing that in action everywhere all the time. We're seeing
Yeah.
the sun rising, we're seeing the rain falling, we're seeing a leaf growing from a seed. All of that is that in action all the time.
Why do you
But
think it took take two,
we
3 hours of walking?
don't see it. We only see, if you take the labels off and what we know about
Yeah.
it, you see that you don't know. You see that you don't know.
And it's just the
And
most beautiful
yeah,
whatever, what I'm saying, the unknowing of something that you were sure of, right? It's almost like it's everything is fresh in you again, because there is a stamping or a labeling of things that we think we know when it cannot be known. And it's almost the insecurity of knowing is try to figure out something that already is it's ineffable already. It's infinitely
so,
ineffable.
so I know you don't abide by the fetters, but you asked me
Yeah.
how I am.
Yeah.
And I'm according to Pernilla, I'm now in this thing. What's happening in the last few weeks, months, is that space and time have shaken to the point where I don't have any solidity.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking I've seen it or done it,
Yeah.
known it, but I haven't. And what's happening is I'm working with my reaction. Like the other
Yeah.
day, a friend gave me $800 that she owed me, but I didn't remember or see her doing it.
Yeah.
And so I insisted she didn't, but she did. And
Yeah.
it's the one that comes in and insists she knows, that needs to know to survive, that needs, there's this lifetime of being the smart person in the room to survive an early, say early trauma or whatever. It creates this inability or this reluctance to just accept my not knowing, my quantum state. I'm
Yes.
just fighting it right now. And it's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
collapsing. Right now it's collapsing. And I'm
Yeah.
watching as I'm like clawing to know, to be sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure of anything. And that's what's
Yeah.
happening is, and they call that Fetter 10.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Fetter 10 is the final unknowing. It's the final
Yeah.
settling without resistance into the complete
Yeah.
unknowing. So it's what you're talking about, basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I just
anyway.
went to the conclusion of it without the
Well, you struggled a lot along the way, and
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It was looking back, I'm saying, because I did read, I got interested and read, because there's this openness here, right? Um,
right.
that's it too. You know what I'm saying? It's not denying any of that, right? Um, but
Uh-huh.
since the story collapsed already, it doesn't make sense anymore. You know what I'm saying? But it
Uh-huh.
does make sense in the story. It does.
Yeah.
It does, because even as we speak, everything is just coming and going, and it doesn't matter, right? There's this, it's like what's the difference of this with the tides rising, the sun setting, the leaves, falling. It's just always this dynamic stillness. And that also includes knowing and unknowing, right? It's just knowing and knowing, knowing and knowing, until it's seen that knowing and unknowing are just quantum.
So what you're describing is what it
Yeah.
feels like in quote human form to experience a quantum state.
Yeah.
Or a non see, digital is definite, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not, none of it is digital.
No.
It's only the observer that creates the digitalness.
It's made up.
It's made up.
It's made up.
And
Yeah.
but this confuses seekers, because they think, well, if we say the world's an illusion, there's no world. No, that's not true. There
No,
is the world and there isn't the world.
that's the illusion.
That's the illusion. There is space-time and there isn't space-time. There is
Yeah.
definiteness in science,
Yeah.
but that's why everything I've ever learned in science gets questioned eventually. In my life, I've learned that if I took it literally, then eventually there'd be, most of what I learned in medical school is no longer applies.
Yeah.
And we used to be so sure the world was flat.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
go to the mat about all kinds of things that we thought were sure, but they aren't. And so,
Totally.
yeah. So anyway,
And that's the
that's
same with
that's the
the
talk for
yeah,
today. The
that's
talk for today
beautiful. You know
is
what? So
about
many people have
paradox,
paradox. Sorry.
paradox, the assumption of an observer, and not knowing. That's the talk.
Beautiful. Text me that because I'll forget. Like how we forgot a password after I set it up. How?
That you forget because you never knew it.
Exactly. There we go. The paradox of knowing and not knowing. Well, thank you so much. People have been bugging me. When is the next episode of this AI series and non-duality? Here it
Right.
is.
I'm very excited to find out what happens when AI becomes quantum. And I don't know, before that, I'll do some more particular AI research into this, all this drama mama of Chat GPT and everything like that.
Until next
All right.
episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, see you later. Bye.